I'm gaining a new understanding of the beauty of mindfulness as I've become more mindful over the last years. I'm seeing beauty. I'm experiencing beauty more. And that's when I say the word mindfulness, that's not what comes to mind with the word. It kind of feels like, oh, yeah, that's hard work. I got to be mindful. Ugh. But as I'm, I don't know, allowing it to happen more spontaneously, I'm discovering that everything is beautiful. You know, I'm just aware much more of the beauty that is all around me. And so it's making every day more and more wonderful. And this past Sunday, and for a couple of weeks before that, I was really immersed in the subject of higher vibration, of being aware, having an awareness outside of daily ordinariness, you know, just of life going on and of how things can be quite miraculous and amazing, or they can look like ordinary, you know, not so special, perhaps painful realities. And since I presented that subject on Sunday, I somehow my experience has gone up a notch in awareness, and I have been so conscious of how the people that I'm talking with understand things in a non-physical, loving dimension. And seeing, I'm not sure that's the right word, being aware of, perceiving that with people one after the other has been amazing. Be mindful of all kinds of things. But when we are relaxed and mindful, it can be an ongoing beauty, pleasure, joy to be in the present moment. And when we are in that beingness, I think everybody with us is enjoying the same awareness on some level. I don't know. What do you think?
Maybe it depends where they stand at this very moment. So they have from the same awareness, I have the feeling that there is a one whole awareness, and each one of us is getting a part of it. And it depends how aware you are.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, I think of awareness like a Venn diagram. You can both be mindful, but there's this part that intersects. Yeah. And the intersection of your mindfulness and somebody else's mindfulness seems to be where you've been being in your being, Rosemary.
Well, that is where I've been being. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that's a beautiful place. It's relaxed, it's open, it's paying attention to everything and nothing at the same time. So that's the energy place you want to be.
Yes. And the thing that I've been aware of much more acutely than usual when I have been present and open and not worried about anything is I am much more aware of the love that is flowing between
Mhm.
people in the conversation. For instance, when I write a talk, hello, Emma. When I write a talk, it's a team effort. Nancy, my wife, goes through it, and she is a very, very skilled editor. She was a publisher for years. And so she's very minutely attentive to details. And so when she takes my text and marks it all up and then gives it back to me, I don't always perceive that as a loving dynamic. Sometimes it feels like, oh, yeah. But I know, mentally, I know that what she points out when I address them, makes the talk a lot clearer, more focused. Her work with it is very important. And so this past week, for the talk for this coming Sunday, I gave her the text, the draft. And I was aware for the first time as she was going through it and marking it up that she was thinking, okay, if she moves this over here, it will make a greater impression on people. It will be more effective. And so what she is doing is she's in a very loving space. And he was glad that I was not really aware of before, because Emilio felt doing very proud and happy. In other words, she's really looking at, okay, how can we helpful make this presentation as effective as it and all of us make it? And boy, people trust us. I've got somebody, but when they do, we want to help me meet their expectations. We want to make them happy. But I saw the beauty of it this whatever your work is, has been. That was an amazing experience in that. I normally in third dimensional awareness, people hire us to do something not perceptible. They are trusting somehow going to do it when I consciously, and it's up to us. And sometimes staying. There are reasons why more we spiritual don't feel dimension. Like we can do it well. Like then if we don't I became able to perceive love and going on. Then we need to be trustworthy, like a different world, which is the adjective for people. It is quite amazing. They're trustworthy. And we need to be
when you started
and if
working
we are
on
not able to
and I thought I understood
what people are trusting us to do,
but
we need to say,
with this book,
you know
and
what?
then when it working
I
up to this chapter,
should not
and
do that today.
I thought I was working on myself and doing good.
Whatever. I'm really upset and I can't stay concentrated
and I thought
because
I understood
my parent just die
mindfulness.
or whatever. You do
And like you
understand
said, it seems so
that,
challenging
sometimes,
because I
even though we're
perceived
usually
it
really
as
trustworthy,
stay in the
sometimes we
moment,
can't
don't look at the
perform.
past, don't look at the future. Stay in the moment, don't look at the past, don't look at the future. Stay in the moment, don't look at the past. It was
You're
So it's
carrying stuff you don't need to
it's
carry
a
then.
right. And I'm
bet
trying not
or
to
a
carry.
gamble
And I'm like, okay, that's
on
good.
the
I've
part
healed my past. I'm
of
not
the
carrying
person
it. I'm not
trusting,
looking at it.
and
I'm not
it's
worrying about the future. But
it's
I
a
realized
responsibility on the
it
part of the
didn't hit
person
me until in
being
this chapter
trusted.
about
It's two
the
ways,
attentiveness
and
of the
kindness is
moment
going both
and the
ways.
stress that I was
Can
putting
anybody
on
share a
myself,
story with us
regardless of I
when
left in the past and
you
what I'm not worrying about the
decided
future,
to
but am
trust
I taking
someone
care of
and they
myself
came
at this
through?
moment, attentive to my needs at this moment, which I didn't do. And I realized that's why I kept missing the mark in my personal relationships, because if I'm not attentive of myself in the moment to what I need to do, how can I really be attentive to someone else?
Question.
And that's what I realized. I'm like, no wonder I keep messing up sometime and not thinking and just acting when it comes to some things. And I'm like, well, I've even disregard myself in the moment. And
Right.
and not being attentive at the moment, I didn't realize whatever I'm doing at that moment sometimes is based on the past or worrying about the future, and I didn't realize it.
Right. And so the more spiritual, I guess, our awareness becomes, we understand what we already understood, but we understand it in a higher way,
Right.
which means we see more love. We are participating in greater love. I mean, that's the essence of higher vibration.
And I was
And
telling myself, like, oh, I'm loving myself now because I'm not doing this. But if I'm not attentive to my needs, how am I loving myself?
Mhm.
And not really, because I'm not taking care of myself.
right. And it needs to go beyond paying attention to ourselves. We really need to be open and know
Yeah.
that, you know what? We don't need to put a lot of energy into taking care of ourselves. When we are attuned to what's going on, we are taking care of everybody, including ourselves,
Right.
and it's part of the flow that is inevitable. That's a law that always is going on. And so we can leave behind worrying about, okay, what about me? Because we're a part of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that begins to change what we're perceiving. It's been these couple of weeks. I mean, I've had moments in the past, but this is the first time I've been able to stay there for any length of time and to, say, okay, what do I need to say to myself to stay in that awareness? Because I am still very much an embodied awareness. And so I'm working on being attuned to a higher vibration, to a more loving vibration in every day. And what the quantum scientists and psychologists are researching and telling us is, okay, as we do that more and more consistently, our actual body changes and makes it easier. You know,
Right.
our hormones and our enzymes and our neural synapses all modify to make easier what it is that we're doing every day.
I've
We
never
change.
been less stressed.
Right.
Good.
I've never been, it's like I can handle everything better. I can remember things that I need to do. And I'm not carrying that, forget the past, worry about the future.
Right.
And just that being attuned, something about that being attuned.
Just like the Nike swoosh on
Yeah.
their,
Yeah.
Oh,
you know,
that's
the
great.
swoosh,
That's
Yes.
a good,
and they
just
say,
do it. Yeah,
just do it. And
just do it.
that's the thing is you're not thinking about it. You're just doing it. And then you can be on that uphill swoosh.
Yes.
That's a
And
very good image.
I like that.
And
I like that.
Rosemary, what I'm thinking about what you're saying is energy is all around us and in us always. And I think
Everything is energy.
that you
Every-
have become a transformer. And when you become a transformer, you take one kind of energy and make it available to all the other levels of energy. So for every person you're meeting, you're transforming your energy to match their energy. And that's the flow that you've gotten into.
Right. There's a little something there that just saying it that way doesn't account for,
Right.
because we can also attune our energy downward if we're not careful,
Right.
and
Yeah.
let ourselves
Because
be
you're lifting
affected
them
by somebody's negative feelings
Mhm.
and thoughts. And that's, being aware that, okay,
Right.
I don't want to go there.
Yeah.
But I invite everybody to join me somehow at this higher
Right.
awareness.
But
Because-
in order to reach other people, you have to meet. So you may meet and bring them up, not let them bring you down.
Exactly. Yes. And I remember one experience where, with the help of a medium, I was to meet physically and be connected with someone who had already gone on, left the body, and was in spirit, had been in spirit for a while. And what I understood, and it was a very interesting experience, was, okay, I'm still in a body. And so my vibration level, rate, whatever it is that a vibration is,
Yes,
or does, or
frequency.
has,
Your frequency.
my frequency is still slowed down by being in a body. And this other person her frequency was much higher, even though we had been very close a couple of months before in body. And so I had to raise my vibration level way above what was comfortable. And apparently she had to lower her vibration level to way below what was comfortable, what she was normally doing, so that we could actually be together someplace in between. I have no idea where. It was a nice green place.
Yeah.
But the experience of the vibration, it just about shook me apart. I had to really breathe and allow. And it was tough. It was challenging. And I expect somehow we didn't get to talk long enough for me to ask her what it felt like to reduce her vibrations enough so that somehow we were actually physically present with each other in between. It was a fascinating experience. And, you know, it made me realize, okay, vibration is really interesting. And changing our perceptions of what's going on, yeah, it changes our vibration level. And to change our vibrations more than is comfortable for us in the moment is not something we do easily. I really needed the help of my guide facilitator who was sitting next to me to help me to hold the awareness, because by myself it would have been probably impossible. So it was also an example of how two people together or more can assist each other in moving higher in awareness. And that's what I've been perceiving over the last couple of weeks, has been that when I'm with other people, between us, we can experience the higher dimension, the higher vibration, which isn't shaking us apart, but it's higher than we normally get to ourselves. Anne-Marie, what is your experience and wisdom with this?
Okay, I had several experiences, and one experience was once when I was driving to the Lake of Geneva, which for me was like going to Asia, because there are also palm trees there. So I was really at the peak to go down to Montreux, and suddenly I got a tremendous shivering. And the question, will you work for peace? And then I was driving. Then I said, okay, but not now. And I was afterwards in Montreux, and it was very fascinating. It was only a few days later that I got asked if I would be prepared to do a certain work, which was for peace, and that's where I'm still in. And it was quite a number of years. It's about 20 years ago.
That is quite a number of years, yes.
It is quite a number of years, yes. And I never forget this moment. It is, yeah.
Right. Those kinds of moments are life-changing.
That's right.
When we experience, we don't have them very often.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I had a similar one about 40 years ago when I was driving.
Mm-hmm.
That
driving scene.
Yeah.
A good thing, because you have to be in the moment, you know.
Exactly. I think that was part of it, that when you're driving, you need to be aware, right, where you are, and you're not thinking about other things. You're just paying attention to what's going on. It was a country road, so I couldn't just put on the speed control and, you know, daydream. I had to be aware. And it was, I think I stopped the car. It was a lonely road. It was a rural back road. Nobody came by. And I have no idea, because I was not in time, how long it lasted. It could have been half an hour. It could have been half a minute. So I think I stopped the car right in the middle of the road. I think nobody came by in when the time, and I have no idea how it relates to time. So, but it was really totally awesome as an experience. And I think most people have moments like that make us realize, hey, wait a minute, I want that experience more.
Yeah. Mine was 34 years ago. And this coming April, it will have been 34 years ago. Just after Easter. And I just got this feeling that we had to attend this conference of the Christian Church Disciples of Christ. Just had to attend it. My husband and I. We had only been members of the church for about 3 years. So we weren't really involved in anything at that point, but I really wanted to go. And then after a while, I thought, oh, well, I think my husband's going to be called to ministry at this conference, at this retreat, and I'm going to be there and do everything I can to be supportive of that. So we drove there. We had 45 minutes to get to the opening banquet. People appeared to take our children, and they just, took our children to the nursery, and we got in time, and we sat down. And about the time the speaker began, I hear, "Not him, you." I was like, what? You've got to be kidding. I don't even know any women ministers. I mean, at that time, I had not met a woman in ministry because I had been raised a Baptist.
Right.
And so I immediately, it was great because our assistant pastor was there, and I told him, I don't know what I'm doing. So he took me to the bookstore, and I got several books and started reading them and had conversations with them and stuff. And it didn't come to exact fruition the way I'd expected it to, but it's definitely been a part of my life for all of that time, and the driving force in my life for all of that time. Right. Is to be in ministry, not the kind of ministry that I thought of, which is a normal pastoral ministry where you preach and you visit I still visit the sick, but not the standard what I had expected. It's been completely unique to me. Right. And because a big part of it has been advocacy for people with autism. A big part of it has been changing from being a speaker to being a visual artist. So we're talking big difference. But
and the need to keep saying, yes, okay.
Yeah. It's like, yes, it's a roller coaster, but I like roller coasters, so it's okay.
Right. I hate roller coasters, but this one is wonderful.
No, I love the moment at the top. Not like so much the moment at the bottom, but going over the top where you're sort of weightless for that instant of freedom. That's the feeling. The same feeling I get every time I'm reminded that my call is not anybody else's call. So I don't have to follow anybody else's pattern. So
interesting.
So Anne-Marie, that's my story of it. And I ate very little of that dinner.
Yes, I expect so. And yes, and it's true that when we pass through a moment like that and we say, okay, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
It changes everything, and it's a wonderful change.
Mm-hmm. That's what I went through. Even from, I can't even think how many years. And connected with somebody I hadn't talked to 6 years, from back in Brooklyn. And how even younger, how I would just sit there on the stoop with a comb and a brush and stuff for hair. And like all the little girls, they would come and sit and talk. And the conversations will always go to, you know, positive and this and that. And it seems like, I don't know how, I always say it's like this voice I just follow. Just like in high school, we would be doing things we shouldn't be doing, and a voice would come, get up and leave now, you know, and I would always listen. And one time they got arrested, you know, but I always had this voice, but I would always listen to it. Just like when something just said, get a comb, get a brush, get the hair grease, and just sit there. And I became like the little neighborhood for little girls doing hair. And one time that really stuck out, and I was older, and I was feeling so bad. I mean, sick enough to get on the bus and take 2 buses to go to Kings County Hospital. That's how bad I felt. When I got off the bus, something said, don't go to the emergency room, go to a friend of mine that I had gone to high school with, and I hadn't seen her in a while. And there were times we just didn't have a phone. We couldn't afford a phone. And so I couldn't contact her. And I got that close, and she was walking distance from the hospital, and I walked to her house and knocked on the door. Oh my God, the state of being that she was in physically, emotionally, with her daughter and the cat and the cat feces, and she was sick. She needed somebody. And like I said, for me to be sick enough to feel that I had to take 2 buses to go to Kings County Hospital, get off the bus, and now I'm like, no, I need to walk to Keisha's house and take care of Keisha, which I did. I took care of the baby. The baby was so sick and no aspirator. And I learned from my mother the old day, you suck it out the nose, you know, and I took care of her, and I let her take a shower, and I cleaned up from the cat, and I actually took her home with me. Did I go to the emergency room? No. Did I feel sick after that? No. How did I feel that sick not to go to the hospital? And the connecting, the way I've connected with people who died. When you talk about on that plane, the way when my father died, I knew before I got the call, I was standing next to my sister because she was alone. And I asked her, where were you? She said, I was at the foot of the bed. I was like in a dream state, and you could not tell me I was not in that room. I called in from work before I got the phone call. I said, my father died. I've connected with friends that I've been close to and haven't talked to in years. There was a friend I hadn't talked to in years. And I visualized myself knocking on the door, them letting me in, walking me past the people in the apartment. And I'm like, well, what's going on? And he's like, I'm dying. And I laid there. And I didn't find out till years later. I asked about it, and they said, oh, he passed some time ago. And I'm like, I remember. And people I'm close to, I don't know. And I don't share a lot because, you know, people look at you and think that, but I connect for some reason. I connect with dead people. And doing when they're
We all
leaving.
do. We just don't know it.
We don't, you don't know
pay
it.
attention.
And don't pay attention. And that spiritual connection to where somebody's so close to you, you can get sick and get close enough to say, now walk the rest of the way and take care of them. And you're not sick anymore.
Yeah. Sickness is a very interesting artifact, which you shift your dimension of awareness and it just vanishes.
Yeah.
Or comes back, depending on where you're at.
Yeah. In In high school, I used to be able to push headaches out of my head. And as long as I was still in one place, they would stay out of my head. And as soon as I moved, they came back in. My mom told me I was crazy,
Right.
but it was the truth. I can sometimes do that now, but not as easily as I did as a teenager. Probably because I believed I could do it more as a teenager.
That's what I was going to ask you. Why do you think that
Yeah,
you have that perception?
because now I have a doctor who gives me medication.
Okay.
That's so the doctor would not have believed that I could push the headache out of my head and it be up here somewhere. I mean, it wasn't far away.
Right. But it wasn't in your
It
head.
wasn't in my head.
Right.
Yeah. And sometime in my 20s, I lost the ability to consistently do that. So,
You got too cluttered.
yeah.
As we get older, we get cluttered. And I think that's where we don't realize those abilities, I guess.
Right.
You know, and I think they come in a different way because it's something, you know, you could be sick, but if somebody needs you, all of a sudden you could just put that strength, okay, this is what I have to do, you know, taking care of the kids and people relying.
It's all about attention, focus.
Right.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then when probably younger, you have less things, so you could concentrate on just thinking about yourself and say, what do I do with this? And we get busy and more people in our lives, but it's something how we can miraculously like be feeling terrible. I know for myself, but if I'm in need, like just recently when I lost my godson, and when she called me that Monday and told me, I was like, okay, I gotta get a ride. I gotta get there. I mean, I left my wheelchair was at home. My walker was at home. I had a cane because I did not want anyone taking care of me because I was there for her and I was there for the family. And I stayed there with a cane and my medication and on my feet. And she had even made the comment. She said, well, I don't want you to feel I'm neglecting you. I said, you don't need to take care of me. You know, people will come, oh, don't help me. We're here for her. And it's something how that whole time, I'm not going to say I didn't feel my pain. I still had my same condition, but the strength that I had to be there, to be present, to help, to do. And I slept on a couch. I didn't even have a bed because, you know, the children got older and she's like, okay, one of them left and he took the bed in the guest room. I don't have a bed for you. I'm like, don't worry. And the couch was big, you know, with the chase because she has a big family. And I think 1, 2, 3, 4 of us and everybody had room. I had the chase part. My body was fine sleeping on a couch the whole time I was there.
Wow.
And it's something, but I was present in that moment. I was present with what was going on, what was at hand, what needed to be done, and I came, and I guess I thought it would wear on me when I got home. And, you know, I'm like, at one time, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's going to take me days to recover. But it didn't.
So you really were conscious in a different dimension, and
in a different dimension, yes.
And you weren't suppressing your needs in the physical dimension.
It was like I was out of the body.
Yeah, right.
That I would have had at home or anywhere else. And I was in the body that I was in when I met her years ago with that baby in her arms and me being there for her. It was like mental and physically I had gone back years.
Right.
It was more, she needs me.
Mhm.
Because even her mother wasn't there. And I used to always be like that step-in mother. Even when she
Right.
lost another child on Mother's Day. Her mother wasn't there. I was there at the hospital. And it's like that old person was there, that outer body. I went back years.
Okay, so we know we can do this.
Mhm.
We just need to let it happen when it's time.
Just
When we
do
need
it.
it.
Like she said, just do it.
And what would happen if we decided, okay, why don't I do this most of the time? I can be in that upper room if you want to, in that higher space and that higher awareness.
Mhm.
And in that awareness, I can, midwife, I have more power. I can make more things happen to help the world, to help people, and to feel myself that I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
And we can consciously choose to stay in higher awareness, but it takes practice.
Yeah, it's true.
And mindfulness is an important part of being tuned in to other people and what they need, and being aware of them without squashing ourselves or putting ourselves aside. It's the idea of the flow is,
Mhm.
really a good controlling idea, because we're not prioritizing somebody else rather than us. Well, it's all good. I want to welcome Chris, who has been listening in on this conversation.
Yeah.
Hi, Chris.
We
Hello.
started out
Nice.
talking about mindfulness and different dimensions of awareness. And that's where the conversation went. Do you have any things that you'd like to ask about or contribute?
For based on my experience, because I take care of the elderly, yeah, sometimes the elderly person he need to care, and mostly some of the son or daughter are busy. One of the elderly he need to companionship, and one of the caregiver is the one to take her and give a more motivation, because sometimes the elderly persons are some sad or he need to joy in life, so that have a longer and give us some uh, exercises that you need to contribute to sharing, because sometimes you do not notice that some of elderly or even to my patient are sadness because uh, her son, daughter, or a grandson is busy and he have no time to 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 take her with him. That's why he need to some companionship to to and also he need to some love that he wants to, based of my experience, to take care of some of the elderly persons. Yeah.
When you are in that awareness, do you feel lightened?
Yeah, I feel happy, teacher Rosemary. I feel happy because I'm helping. I'm helping to take her, and uh, I don't feel stressed because I enjoy my job to take care of the
Yes,
some persons like that.
right. And we also were talking about how wonderful it feels when we are doing our job, when we're
Yeah,
doing what we're called to do, what is ours to do. That's a wonderful awareness in the moment.
yeah. Thanks.
Yes.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Abel Hadi, hello. Abdelhadi.
Hello,
How are
good
you?
evening. I'm good, thank you for asking. Yourself?
We're doing well, thank you. We're having a
Great.
wonderful conversation about mindfulness and in different levels of connection, different levels of awareness of how we are connected with others. And so you came in kind of toward the end.
No,
I don't know if you were understanding what we were talking about. Were you?
well, it's such as a deep conversation. Actually, I'm not someone who really think about the relationship. I don't think deeply in these things. Just yeah. So that's how I am.
Mhm. Yeah. And we were all really sharing how we are. And all of us are really, when you come right down to it, we all look different, we all speak different languages, we're in way different places in the world, but we are one. We are connected. And we all are able to share this awareness of shifting and this ability to shift when we feel engaged, when we feel needed, when we are open to serving others and also taking care of ourselves. That's something that all humans share. And so we're experiencing sharing that. And it's a good experience.
Yeah,
So do you,
I saw something that we share that also with some other species. I heard about also that there is a connection between trees and other grass, and they call it microhazel.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's right.
they said that the trees, they can help each other by transforming some nutrition to each other.
Mhm. That's right.
Yeah, so
And
I guess that we are not alone in this behavior. We share it with other species, animals, and
right, right.
vegetables.
Absolutely. And when we're aware in the moment and our awareness includes other species, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. And there is a movie that I watched a couple of weeks ago that talks about this. And the movie is about mushrooms and it's called Fantastic Fungi, I think. It's
Mhm.
available on, I don't know, Amazon or Netflix or one of the streaming services, and you don't have to pay for it. And it is it's well worth watching because the trees are able to connect with each other and to communicate with each other because of the roots of mushrooms that
Mhm.
connect them and everything in the forest. And the awareness that mushrooms are capable of as connecting beings totally blows your mind. But it is that higher vibration awareness, and it's wonderful to experience it. It's just a beautiful experience. I highly recommend watching that movie if you
Yeah,
want.
it's called microhazel. The whole
What it is.
operation.
Mhm,
Microhazel.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
mhm.
the movie I think is called something about fungi.
Fantastic fungi.
Right. That's
Yeah,
it.
There's also a book by Paul Stamets.
Yes, that's the guy. He's the one
Yeah.
with that awareness. He's
Yeah, can you watch that one in a Netflix, Teacher
Can you-
Rosemary?
yes, yes,
Can you put it in the chat, the titles?
I will. Yes, thank
Okay,
you, thank you,
thank
thank you for suggesting that.
I'm looking it up now.
Yeah,
I have something to look at this afternoon.
right. I actually have watched it now 3 times, and each time it's been totally different and
Oh,
more
it pulled right up.
and more wonderful.
Look at there.
Mm-hmm.
It came
Oh.
right up on Netflix.
Fantastical. Wow, amazing. Okay. Pause.
Fantastic fungi.
Right. And the
Uh-huh.
guy's name is Paul Stamets. He had a really interesting story. He was totally asocial for his whole childhood and adolescence because he stuttered so badly that he couldn't get words out. And somehow, because of that, he was free to connect with other species, other levels of awareness. And he connected with mushrooms. And one day he had one of those experiences, which when he was becoming a professional biologist, and he needed to be able to communicate. And he had this experience that he told about in the film, and that was it. From that day forward, he never stuttered again. And but he became Mr. Mushroom and has really enlightened a lot of people about this phenomenal consciousness that whose job is to unite the different kingdoms and species and help everybody to communicate with each other. And we know that some mushrooms are psychoactive and
Yes, they
change
are.
people's dimension of awareness. And apparently, actually, that's a good thing. So
Yeah,
it's
because as we know all of us, we know that the plants, they compete for light, they compete for nutrition, and yeah, it was really such as a stunning thing that that's this discovery.
right. The discovery that, yeah, we compete, but everybody helps everybody
Mm-hmm.
and we're all connected. And it's all about helping. It's all about love.
Yeah. Agree.
So why don't we say that's our homework for this week? Let's watch the movie.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And next
No.
Friday,
I'm getting
we'll
ready
be
to do it now.
yeah. And next Friday, we will be talking about empathy,
Empathy.
which
Yeah.
empathy, compassion, which is another miraculous ability that we have. And we can bring the mushrooms, the fungi into the conversation about empathy. Why not?
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Maybe
Yeah.
love is the answer from the mushrooms.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Empathy really ties into this, the one we just did with
Empathy is
mindfulness.
very interesting topic in
It
next
Yes.
goes hand in hand.
Friday. I hope so I can join again.
Yes, I hope so too, Chris.
Ah,
I hope all of us can. I look forward to it.
yeah.
Okay,
And
have a good week.
thank
Have
you.
a good week. Nice to meet you guys.
Bye
Nice
bye.
to
Bye bye.